Welcome to today's 5 Good Minutes on the 10 Commandments. Today we'll be considering the first commandment with Kurt Bjorklund.
Welcome to 10 Commandments. I would guess that if you have paid attention to the 5 Good Minutes podcast and we come to this, there's a little piece of you that might say, you know what, 10 Commandments. I've heard them, read them, know them. Do I really need to spend time with them? But what I would guess is that if we spent some time talking about the 10 Commandments, if you will commit to these 5 minutes, you will begin to see how foundational they are to all of life and specifically to our Christian life. At times it may feel like these are pretty simple ideas that you don't have to spend a lot of time with. Like, I haven't killed anybody, don't plan to, seems remote. And yet that is such an important societal norm, but also something that's important in our own spiritual life. And as I would assume you know, Jesus raises the bar and says it isn't just that whether or not you physically kill somebody, it's your whole disposition. And so as we begin, I think it's really important to say 2 things about the 10 Commandments. One is that they really are the foundations, not just of society, but of personal freedom. And what I mean by this is when we live by God's law, then there's a freedom that they give. It's a little bit like acknowledging the law of gravity. By acknowledging the law of gravity, I'm free to live on the earth and pursue everything. But if I ignore the law of gravity, all of a sudden, I might feel like I'm free, but the crash will be devastating. If I ignore the laws of traffic and I just say I drive wherever, however I want, instead of following the laws, it actually reduces freedom. It doesn't enhance freedom. And so learning and understanding and embracing the 10 Commandments enhances freedom. It doesn't take it away. And then secondly, I just think it's important to say something about the law and grace and how these things work together. Martin Luther once wrote this: "The law must be laid upon those that are to be justified, that they may be shut up in the prison thereof until the righteousness of faith come, that when they are cast down and humbled by the law, they should fly to Christ. The Lord humbles them, not to their destruction, but to their salvation. For God woundeth that he may heal again. He killeth that he may quicken again." And what he's just basically saying is that the law awakens us. And so the 10 Commandments are not necessarily just a bunch of rules to be followed with the hope that we can please God. They're a mirror that shows us that we don't keep the law. And yet at the same time, we want to seek to keep the law, because in keeping the law of God, there is a sense in which it brings about something in our lives, which is that freedom and that joy that we talked about. And so as we begin this study, we'll be looking at Exodus 20 and the commands that are here. I want to once again just remind you that this is something that God has given us for our good and for the good of the world, and that in taking these laws to heart, you will hold a mirror to yourself, see your need for the Savior, but also hopefully be inspired to be a part of how God is at work in the world and bringing about just your good in all situations.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check out all our content and podcasts on Orchard Hill Plus. You can find that and so much more on our website or the Orchard Hill app.